Right, so we are transitioning to our panel. Thank you, ladies, for being with us. I'm Sharnikya Howard. Hi, guys.
Hello. Hey, girl.
Alexis and Sophia, we're waiting for two more, but we're going to get started because we're here on time. And so,
Watch the woman be here on time. Watch it.
no.
Always here on time.
Instead of reading your bios, which are awesome, I'm so impressed. I just wanted to give you both a chance to introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, how you got here, and what you love about the work you do.
Oh, we're going to let Alexis go first.
Okay.
All right. So I'm Alexis Robinson. I'm a manager in government assessments and authorization program. I mainly deal with U.S. government assessments. So what that really is taking cloud services that are all ready to go, that want some money from the government, and bring them through a cybersecurity assessment. And so we manage about 20 to 25 different assessments a year. And what it includes is the whole gambit of a cybersecurity framework. So we do collect evidence of configurations and policies and procedures for the GRC people in the room. We also do vulnerability scanning of the network for those hosts. We also do penetration testing. All three has to happen before the government approves. Then we take that and provide it to the government. Other part of what I do is kind of thread the needle, translate from what the government needs and what their expectations are, or even customers that are in regulated markets, what they need and what their expectations of security are, and translate what we're doing from an AWS tech perspective to them in their language. So what I love about what I do is that threading the needle. It's taking a security requirement and translating it 7 different ways. One to a service team developer, one to a regulator that's trying to check the box, one to an auditor, and one to a customer, and one to internal teams that really are like, one piece of the greater whole and making sure that AWS is secure. I love that. It's so much fun. I don't know why it's fun for me, but it is that. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm Sophia Bracey. I am a product designer. So basically what that is I design the user experience in mobile apps and web-based applications. Currently, I work primarily on mobile apps. So whether that's designing the icons that you all see. So for example, if you open up your banking app, I design those particular icons. I help figure out what the information architecture of that is. I got into product design by way of graphic design. I figured that I wanted to get into tech and do something more hands-on. The crazy thing is when I started, I really wanted to do computer science and I realized that was not my thing. So everyone who is in computer science, I absolutely respect you. I took the design route and we're going to stay there. I say my favorite thing about what I do is seeing the user's reaction to different features that I have helped implement it to help change. In one of my recent positions, my coworkers, I helped redesign their platform and they were all excited and they were looking forward for me to finish the rest of the platform. So that's been one of my favorite things thus far.
Thank you, ladies. I'll share a little bit about myself. My background is in computer science. So I'm one of those folks. So I was a software developer for many years, and then I transitioned to technical program management. So I'm a technical PM. And what I love about that is you get to be involved in the full life cycle, from testing requirements. I call it adult daycare. So that there's that part of it as well. And so that's what I love about what I get to do every day. Okay, so we're going to transition to our questions. And actually, I'm going to start off with a question from one of our students. What actions did you take to prepare for this job, such as college coursework, internships, or volunteer experience? And we'll start with Alexis again.
So I guess I'll take it back to the very beginning. I will say that if it was just college and just coursework, that I would be lying if that's what really prepared me for what I do now. Honestly, when I started off in high school, I was doing a lot of odd jobs. I got one quick story. When I was actually in middle school, I'm not saying my mom thought that I was the greatest thing in the world because I gave her hell, but but I had a side hustle, and it was like, mowing lawns and raking leaves and dealing with snow. And I was like, you know what? I can't be doing this by myself. I don't like it. I'm not making enough money for this. So what I did was I went all the way to Home Depot, which is actually not even that far from me. And I actually bought a whole thing of rakes and like the manual lawn more things. And what ended up happening is I actually ended up like renting them out to other kids in the neighborhood. And I started my business from there. Now, no, my mom was suspicious when I brought when random kids were coming by with random, envelopes of money, but I eventually cleared it up with her. And honestly, that was the start of me really loving project management specifically. So the one thing that is very clear in my job is it's kind of like whack-a-mole. You have all these hands in the fire. There's all these things and all these tasks that are going on at the same time. And yes, it's a cybersecurity focus, but really it's the fundamentals of being able to multitask and project manage and keeping everything in line and keeping yourself organized. So that was the start for that. Now, when I was in college, I actually double majored in accounting and information systems. Now, accounting side was just the fundamentals of business for me. For me, it was a little bit more real and nuts and bolts. In accounting, you're able to really understand, the integral parts of an organization and how it actually spends its money. And then from an information system side, it was really just, okay, it's technology. Everything that we're doing, no matter what, even including in business, has some relation to technology in some way, shape, or form. I didn't want to go the pure computer science route, but I did want to touch on it at least somewhat to be able to understand how businesses work and how they run. When I got out of school, I did a lot of assessments, and it started off as an auditor and then ended up going into cybersecurity assessments. It wasn't called that at the time. Cybersecurity is kind of like the buzzword now, but then it was really just like information security or information governance and management. And that's really what I tested other companies for. And I started off as a consulting background coming to AWS. So by the time I left consulting, I knew exactly what I really wanted to do, which was really going into cybersecurity governance, management, and assessment work for a tech company. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you. So before we go to you, we're going to give Khabir just joined us. We're just going to give him a really nice side eye. No.
Forgive me, everyone. I'm currently at a conference right now, and I'm having technical difficulties. I didn't get the opportunity to test, the internet service here, so I had trouble connecting. So,
but you're making up for it. You look good. Can we just take a minute just to talk about the outfit and the medallion? This person had the whole ensemble. Yeah. Sorry. Just wanted to give you a shout out, brother.
Appreciate it.
So Sophia, we're going to give you a chance to answer, and then we'll go to Khabir and allow you to introduce yourself quickly, and then we'll move on.
Okay. Can you repeat the question really fast? I want to make sure.
Yes. What actions did you take to prepare for this job, such as college coursework, internships, or volunteer experience?
Okay, so I'll start with graphic design. I got into graphic design back when MySpace was popular, one of my first social media sites that I got on. And I wanted to design graphics. Didn't realize it was a whole skill teaching myself how to code my MySpace page. So that's how I got into design. I went to college for it. But how I got into product design is I ended up at a job as a mobile app designer, doing template-based work, but changing around and customizing it for clients. And I had an audience of older clients and younger clients, so I had to know how to appeal to the masses. And basically from there, I had an issue where the platform wouldn't solve it, so I had to be the person to solve the problem for this older lady, because she needed to utilize an iPhone. iPhone, you get a back button that's incorporated in the app, versus Android, you always have one. So I ended up quitting that job and I went in full force learning how to do UX, UI. I took a course. I took quite a few courses. I connected with different designers that I could find on Facebook and Facebook groups, Slack, just to connect with them and to get their overall insight into the industry and how everything works. And I also ended up at Afrotech after I got my first position as a UX designer. And actually, that's where I met Adrienne. We met over food. And that's how me and her connected. So that's how I got into product design. I would definitely say networking was the biggest piece, and talking to other designers that really helped me, as well as my knowledge in graphic design.
Okay, Khabir, over to you. So we just want to hear a little bit about yourself, what you love about your job, and then we'll give you a chance to answer the question in regard to what actions you took to get here.
Okay, great. Yeah, first of all, I want to thank Adrienne for, inviting me onto this illustrious panel with all these, software tech people, people that, look like us actually that are in tech. So it's an honor to be on this panel. So for me, I have a, interesting background. I'm actually a former athlete, I decided to quit, sports, and then transfer to Atlanta, and they didn't have my previous, I guess, how do you say it? Major, right? And so computer science was there. So I was a former engineer. So I was always on the computer using Rivet and things of that nature. So computer science was there. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try that. And so I'm sitting down next to, a 13-year-old, literally, and he's teaching me, how to code, right? This guy was brilliant. And so I'm in a room full of, men that look like me that, code and, are good at it. And, so that kind of really piqued my interest. And from there, I graduated from Morehouse and got a job at Boeing, worked at Google a little bit, did some work with Google a little bit, and got into, tech. I pretty much, taught myself. I'll say this: you learn more outside of college as it relates to, software technology. So you pretty much become self-taught if you really want to be good at it. So that's kind of like, how I got introduced to computer science. I started my own company after I graduated called K.M. Developments, and I created my first software called Credit Fixer. And that's where I'm at today. My goal is to teach software development to, the younger generation, right? Specifically towards Black and brown, men and women, so that, they can see someone like myself, because I had trouble, learning software development because I didn't really see somebody like myself teaching it. And so it was kind of hard to grasp, although they taught it extremely well, but to really ingest it and take it in, it's easier to do that when you see someone like yourself showing you oh, I see him, I see her, they're teaching it in a way that I, can grasp it. And so, that's my goal, is to kind of bridge that gap and, pull more of us inside tech. So, yeah. Hopefully I answered the question.
You did very well. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. So I want to point out a few things that I got from each of you, and I want to make sure that our scholars listening don't miss these things. So one, just based off what Khabir just shared about that 13-year-old, it's never too early to tap into your gifts and your talents and extend those things to others to help them. I mean, at 13, he was helping you. From Alexis, though, a good point was that with your double major, don't let anyone tell you that you can't connect your interest. And so that starts today. You don't have to wait into college to double major. If you are interested in multiple things, you can start to connect the dots. And then from Sophia, a few things like networking. I mean, that's how you met Adrienne. And in this world of social media, great opportunities to start to connect with each other in healthy and positive ways. So thank you all for sharing. Any go backs, anything additional you want to share in regard to that question? If not, I'm going to move on to the next. Okay, great. Our next question: what does a typical day at work look like for you? And we're going to start with Sophia.
Typical day. On a normal day, I log in, check my emails to see what's been assigned to me. Basically, as of recently, I've been working on a design system, and what a design system is, it's basically a program that you open, and it has all of your branding guidelines. So it has the colors that you're supposed to use, the standards that you're supposed to stay within. It includes the icons that I'm supposed to design. So it has all of that within that particular system, and it goes across different platforms. So for example, I've been working with Wells Fargo. So they have multiple design systems for multiple things. So there's a design system for their website, and then there's one for their mobile app. So typically, after I open that and see what the requirements are, I utilize a program called Sketch or Figma, which is for user experience. You can also use Adobe XD if you guys have heard of that. I just designed their icons, and we have something called React standards. And basically what that is, that's for our developers. So whenever I submit my icons to them, it's within their standards. So it's easy for them to implement it into our system. Once I do that, I submit it to another designer to make sure everything is up to par and good to go. Which is an interaction designer, so that they can put it in the app and create different prototypes to make sure that it works before it goes to development. But that's a typical day. My day kind of changes. That's the easy day. So,
Okay, Khabir, we're gonna hear from you next.
So for me, similar to Sophia, I log in, around, 9 a.m. Let me make this clear. I work remote. That's the beauty of software in tech. Like, you can completely work remote if your company allows you to. So I log in around 9 a.m., check my emails. I'm a full stack developer. I'm one of the lead developers on this tab. So I check DevOps. So we're Microsoft. We have a Microsoft stack. And so I check DevOps, see what bugs or change requests that are in the queue for me. And I pretty much spend most of my time, working on those bugs, testing them, then pushing them up to Git repository. And then every day at, I would say 11:30, have our Scrum call. And essentially what that is basically detailing. In 3 minutes, you want to detail, what you've done, what you're having trouble with, and that's pretty much it. And then you move on. Then after that call, just get back to development and finish my day out. That's pretty much it. It's a pretty easy team to work with. We don't have a bunch of meetings throughout the day, so it's great. That's pretty much my day. And then aside from that, after work, I get to working on my software, adding more features to my software and things of that nature. So it's been about 16 hours a day working. So. Yeah.
So before we move on to Alexis, just for those that may not be aware, can you share a bit about what full stack means and DevOps, two terms you use that they may not be familiar with?
Okay, so I'll start with full stack. So a full stack developer is basically, so you have a front end, you have front end developers, you have that handle the UI and things of that nature. Sophia kind of falls into that category. Then you have back-end developers, and basically that means that you're working on things on the server, like the code base. I mean, front-end has code base as well, don't get me wrong. And then you also have like DBs, database, people that manage the database, right? And so for me, I actually have, reached a level to where I understand the front end of like intermediate or mastered the front end, the database, and the server side of things. And so now, you have a totality of 3 people in one technically. And, so that's a full stack developer. Now, DevOps is actually, and I should know how to explain this a bit better, but, I'm a real person, so I don't know everything about it. But DevOps basically is a tool that has integrated features. One of them is, you heard me say Git. Git is a repository where you push your code up. It has that, and then it also has so many features. pipelines where, so for instance, you have I'll speed this up. You have a production server, you have a testing server, and you have a just like let's just say a server where you just create code and that's where you make all your mistakes, or a local server, right? And so that pipeline basically pushes, the code to each one when you're at different stages of development. When you're ready to go to production, you push it to from local to testing server. Then from testing, once everything's tested and it works, then you push to production. So that's another feature. It has pipelines, chat features as well, so you can chat with your team. Those are a few features, and that's sort of what DevOps is.
Thank you. Okay, Alexis.
No, I shouldn't lead with that. If I'm looking at my calendar now, just to kind of get a typical day, probably my heaviest days are on Tuesdays. What ends up happening is in the very beginning of the morning, I start work around 9:30. Usually, sometimes it's around 10 because most of my team is on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. So it starts off with having kind of a scrum with my team, for them to understand, either for me to understand any of their problems or issues. There's a team of people that do at least 2 or 3 different assessments at the same time. Right now, we're doing about 7 assessments, literally all at the same time, with 4 different assessors on it. And so they either raise concerns, problems, issues, blockers that they're going through. It could be contract issues with the assessor. It could be issues with a developer being able to meet the requirements on time. It could be issues with a service not launching on time. It could be a patching issue. It could be different things that are going on at the same time that would actually impede the process or the flow for the assessment. After that, I'm usually leading a giant meeting with the auditor. And the auditor is usually the person that's going through and giving status of all the assessments that they're actually going through. And my team is responding to any issues that occur. Usually I'm also talking in a day to a service team member. It's usually a service team member that has already gotten through a certification for FedRAMP, which is the main certification that I deal with for the government, or they're trying to get into FedRAMP so they can be able to get revenue from the government. So FedRAMP is one of the only certifications where customers won't use a cloud service unless it's done. Unless they've gone through it with SOC or PCI or high trust or other compliance frameworks, they'll still use it, but they'll wait, a little bit before they put all of their workloads or all of their data or move everything into it, but they'll still use it and have that service in their own development environment and everything before it actually, before they want to put everything in it. FedRAMP is the one where they won't touch it at all until it's approved. So I'm usually working with service teams on their path to be able to get there. I'm also working with sometimes the BD teams for different accounts, usually account teams or TAMs or technical account managers that are assigned to different government customers on, hey, this is the roadmap for the Navy, or this is the roadmap for Veteran Affairs, or this is the roadmap from NASA. And these are the cloud services they want to use. So let's map this to a FedRAMP certification. So that's also what I'm doing day to day, is usually 2 or 3 meetings with different teams regarding roadmap for a customer and how to get certain services through FedRAMP. And usually the day ends with reading docs. So in the Amazon environment, doc writing is very important. And so if you want to make a change, either it could be anything, a new product, a new service, changing the way we do security in some way, shape, or form, expanding a functionality that you do into something greater or global, regional to global, you have to write a doc. It could be a 1-pager, a 3-pager, or a 6-pager. And in that doc, you're pretty much talking through what you're trying to change, why you're trying to change it, your problem statement, your recommended solution, and different options. And so usually teams are presenting that to compliance in a general sense about 2 or 3 times a day. So half of my day is just reading docs and giving feedback from a compliance perspective and letting them know, yes, you're on track, or no, got to go talk to this person, figure this out before they can round out their solution and get it done and get the okay. So yeah, that's my day.
Thank you. So a few things from that question. I think you all touched on the fact that even as we progress in our careers, we still have to work with others. There's handoff there's meetings, the Scrum meetings, what have you. So for our scholars listening, those group projects are important. They're preparing you. I know they can be a bit annoying. I remember them. And if you're the one that's already doing most of the work, then you might be like a PM. I don't know. But that work is important. Another thing, though, that Khabir kind of touched on is that like he continues to work full time, but he's also an entrepreneur. And so I just want to point out that you can do both. There is no one way to fulfill your dreams. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next question. What was that? What do you find most rewarding about your job? Sorry. And we'll start with Khabir, Alexis, Sophia.
Yeah, so what's rewarding for me is that I can learn something new every day. And the beauty about technology right now and getting into space right now is that everything is kind of changing, or every industry is using technology. So literally you can create anything you want, right? You can develop or create anything you want. So that's what I find, that's what I love about, that's what I find joy in. It's like, man, I can take an idea and literally create a piece of technology that can fall into that industry. So that's kind of what, I enjoy. Yeah.
Two things I really do enjoy. One, to echo Khabir's point, I love learning about new technology and new things. In order to be able to thread that needle, as I talked about before, with different parties, I have to understand the basis of the technology. Like, I love when a service seems like, hey, we're making up something new. It's going to launch at the end of the year. And like the last year, it was Outposts, which is literally like a mobile data center. And that you can just put this data center wherever you want in a customer's environment, and they can be able to have it in their environment, be able to leverage it and connect to the cloud without having to put everything necessarily within the government. So or within an AWS boundary. So when you think about that, like, what do you think? It's like, okay, well, say if an army, war fighter is in Afghanistan today, and they need to be able to do analytics, but at a very high rate and a high speed of what they're doing, they can literally ship an outpost over to them and be able to leverage the whole power of the cloud without actually being in a full stand-up facility, and be able to do that. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is the thing that they're going to be able to do with technology that we're making. And it's just learning that has just been so much fun. The second part is honestly developing others. I love seeing people have an idea and you're just right along with them in that idea. Because some of the things that we see in tech just weren't here a year ago, 2 years ago. And the things that we depend on now, like every day, are things that just did not exist. And it was all because of somebody's idea. So what I love is, out of the 15 ideas I hear, most of them get some traction or get built into something else. And tech is so innovative and so collaborative that you just see things happening so naturally, and you're just so excited. Like, oh, you have that. How'd you think of that? What did you? And what's great is also seeing the development mind and ideas of people of color going through tech, and seeing how they're more empowered to think and do things differently and have a unique perspective that honestly no one else has. And to see them thrive and grow and achieve is just amazing, just to watch it happen.
If I may say one more thing, another thing that Alexis, you said something that really touched me, because, solving problems, is like amazing. Like when you become a software developer, everything in tech is about solving problems and producing a solution. Even like this tech summit, right? They produce a platform that allows us to actually hop on a stage and basically talk to people, right? So that solved the problem, right? But you get so much joy, like initially, like it's like, damn, I have the idea, but I don't know where to start. And so you talk about collaborative efforts, right? There's always someone anywhere in the world, because technology is universal. At the root of it is mathematics, and mathematics is universal, right? And so there's people out there that know how to do something that could help your idea take off, right? You might have the idea, but you just grab certain people and you come together. And that's the beauty of it, because it brings people together, right? And what's been missing in technology is everybody, people of color, regardless of your race, right? But there's been a lack of certain groups in tech. And so that is what, I love about technology. It brings people together. And when you have everybody in the room solving one problem, you can solve any problem in the world. So I just wanted to.
Thank you. They don't even need my response. Those two basically said everything. That's why I was over here like, yep. I would say my favorite thing, basically they said it, is seeing the user use the product that I helped create, seeing someone enjoy the design problem that I solved. Basically, like Khabir said, everything I do is problem solving, basically. There's an issue with certain systems, I solve it, especially solving accessibility issues for people who have disabilities. Those are ones that I hold near and dear, just to see how they interact with those. And then just seeing people of color in the space, to be honest, it inspires me more every day, and being able to connect. So like even being on this panel right now is everything to me. It's like, okay, I could keep going. And I forgot to add earlier, I also am a part-time professor. So I teach Black kids in college from my university. So I constantly try to push them to be great. They're studying graphic design, but I'm giving them a look into the tech world. Okay, I came from graphic design, but this is what you can do. And you can take it. You don't have to be a product designer. You can go and be a software developer if you want to, but all of your skills, it crosses over no matter what.
I love that. Thank you all. I think my biggest takeaway is that there's room for all of us in this tech space. If you don't want to code, but you love creative writing, I mean, there's spaces for you to humanize cybersecurity, to make it less scary. And so there is room for all of us in there. It's about figuring out what you enjoy and then connecting the dots. Okay, so our next question is, what are employers looking for as they hire interns or graduates? And we'll start with Alexis, Sophia, Khabir.
I would say the biggest thing that I look for interns is just kind of that entrepreneurial spirit. You're not waiting for someone to tell you or give you permission to do anything. You're going to do it yourself. I know that's a change though from where we were before. So I would say if you're talking like 12, 15 years ago, the emphasis was mainly on, can you do the work, right? And I think what we're getting to is an age where we want to tap into the genius that is young people. You guys are the future. And we just don't want any regular person just coming in the door, just willing to do what they're told. We want someone that can be a sponge and absorb, but also has their own perspective. And that's very, very important. The other thing too is I know when I'm looking for a grad, at least, that you've taken the time on your own to do something on your own in that field. And I think a lot of people automatically think, well, I can't do this until I have an internship, or I can't do this until I have a job. And there's a lot of on-the-job training that does exist, but there's a lot of fundamentals you can learn on your own. And honestly, it sets you above other people, because I'm like, oh, you can already do this now. If you can code this on your own, you can already go in and start working right now. Like as Khabir was saying, it was a 13-year-old like teaching coding here. You don't have to wait until you get the job to start. And that's the one thing that's been important for me. I didn't start project management by getting a job. I made my job, and then I became a lead for project management already. So by the time I was coming in, I was like, oh, I already know all this. This is fine. And that's that level of entrepreneurial spirit, even if you're not an entrepreneur, that you have to bring to the table. That's what I'm looking for at the very least.
So to piggyback off of Alexis, I definitely agree. The entrepreneurial spirit, which is how I got my internships. I just started doing more than what was asked of me in my college curriculum. It's how it got me in the door. So I created So Dandy Designs. That was me. Everyone, a lot of the internships I went for basically told me I wasn't good enough, but that's their opinion. I knew I was good enough. So I went and I created this portfolio of different works. I started projects for my university, as well as I had a few friends that wanted to become business owners while we were in college. I started creating their logos and everything. I did it for free on purpose, just so I could have something to show. And then that one particular friend I did her logo for, her logo ended up being on MTV, and she started doing different things for celebrities and stuff. So I use that as my leverage. So when you can put things like that, I'm not saying you have to go that route, but when you can put things like that, that you created, you went above and beyond, and you can present it when you're going for these internships, it'll help you stand apart because it's not just your college work. And then just back to everything Alexis said.
Yeah, I really don't need to say anything. Alexis and Sophia, they pretty much said it all. They gave you guys some good insight on what to do. But I'm a veggie back off of Sophia. And no, I'm funny. I'm sorry, but I would say like Sophia really hit it off. Like creating your own portfolio, right? Have initiative. Show that like, hey, I'm gonna do this with or without you. See, one of the things that I like to tell people to do: don't come in the position of like someone who needs them, right? Because in truth, most of these companies need you. There's a disparity in developers. So understand that. And that's the way that you approach it. You got to understand the market. They truly need you. And so don't go in there fearful that like, am I going to get it or not? No, you go with, a portfolio, go with something in hand, go with, energy, regardless of what it is. It could be energy. It could be, humility. Like, hey man, I'm just starting out. I need some, guidance on how to, solve this problem. I have this great idea, right? So it depends. It's not just cut and dry. It's not the same everywhere you go. And Alexis talked, kind of, touched on that, right? So, go in there with, confidence and understanding like, hey, you guys truly need me, but in a, not in a cocky way or what. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying, but, just go and understand like, hey, there's a lack, there's a need, and I'm here to provide that need. And in most cases, someone's gonna, offer you an internship. But keep in mind, they do have, quotas, like we can only take this amount, right? So if they don't work for you, go to another company. There's millions out there.
Millions. And you are the prize. Okay. So for our next question, what value do you think this generation can bring to the world? And this can be in tech, STEM, or otherwise. And we are going to start with Sophia, and then Khabir and Alexis.
You had to start with me. What value this generation can bring? They can bring a lot. The reason I say that, because this generation grew up on tech. Whereas some of us that are here on the call, we started where tech was really just starting, but they have everything at their fingertips. So they can make different impacts. For example, TikTok. TikTok is huge. People are going viral and making money from TikTok and YouTube. This little boy made so much money from playing Fortnite. So I feel as if they find that that's their niche, like you're a master at Fortnite or you're a master at creating these TikTok videos showing how you create your art, stick with it. And you could turn it into something and become that next big thing in tech, which is how a lot of people got where they are, by utilizing social media. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Khabir.
I was just going to say, like, this question is so powerful. It's such a powerful question because our generation cannot even fathom the ideas that this next generation is going to produce, right? You guys are going to produce some things that are going to change the world, shift the globe, worldwide, right? So, you know, I'm sorry, Adrian, can you repeat that question one more time? Because I really want to.
Oh, Sharnika. This is Sharnika. Get it right. No, I'm just joking. What value do you think this generation can bring to the world?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I was on it. Yeah. Y'all going to shift the entire globe, right? And like, understand, like Sophia, she mentioned it. If your goal is to make a lot of money, the money is in the niche, right? Everything's in the niche. Like you can have so many, if you see an idea, right? And there's multiple, apps out there that's similar, it's in the niche, right? It just shifted a little bit. So, your ideas are gonna, literally pop up everywhere, and we're gonna benefit off that. So, man, I'm just excited. I just hope that, there's more universality, in development. There's been such a lack, and that's what the world is missing. You can't even, experience the effect of it, without everyone, the inclusion of everybody. So, yeah, man, I just hope like Generation Z, I think Jacob mentioned, just, bridge those gaps, right? And unify technology, but take everything, everywhere. So.
Can I jump in really quick? I just want to say a word of advice along that is just because someone already is doing it doesn't mean you can do it. There's 50 brands of bread, but people still buy it. So go for it.
The biggest thing is y'all the culture now. I'm gone. I'm done. Like I looked at the Grammys. I'm watching these award shows. I don't know half the people that's on this damn thing. That's a sign. That's okay. It's okay. I'm okay with that. Like I am A-okay with that, because you know what that means? That means I'm gonna be looking for you to tell me what the heck is going on. And that's honestly how it works. When I first was coming into the game, I was teaching all of my older counterparts what the hell things were. And that's okay. I didn't grow up with the internet like you guys are. I didn't grow up with social media. The other thing too, and I think Sophia and Khabir also touched on it, you can do a job out of anything now. And it's a powerful thing. You can make a brand out of anything now. You have to be good at it, and you have to be dedicated, and you have to be smart, and you have to be, intense about what you're doing and your craft. There's still a craft involved, but you can literally do anything you want to do. And before, that was something you said. I'm serious now. You can literally do anything you want to do, and you are the target demographic because you're the culture. Especially for like people of color, everyone follows y'all. Same thing as Sophia said, TikTok, who went there first? And then who popularized it first? So people making money off of what you did to get there. So understand, be able to like monopolize that and monetize that. And then you are literally driving the force of how everything in America, everything in the world is going.
I love that. I'm gonna add, do all of that, everything that they said, and then remember to give it back. Okay? And we're gonna move on to that part, right? Remember to give it back. Okay, so did you encounter any challenges along your journey, and how did you overcome them? And we're Khabir and go to Alexis and then Sophia.
Absolutely. Number one, being the only, Black person in the room, a lot of people assume that, you aren't qualified. And I'll give an example. I was brought on this job here, and because of, what I had been working on personally, they had an old, application, right? And they needed to literally refactor that application and produce an entirely with newer technology, right? And so I decided to leverage Vue.js, which is a front end, and move to an MVC back server side, right? And literally in this suite of applications, because it went so well, they're migrating their other applications to leverage the same stack, right? And so I've always had that project manager look down kind of in some way, didn't feel like, oh, you qualified to do this or that. And I did have some that, kind of gave me the opportunity, right? But, I would say like I did struggle a lot, and also just learning the code, again, I always mention like it's hard to learn from people that don't look like you, that don't really know how to convey it in a way. Like they might be genuine in it, but it just doesn't come across easy for you to ingest and then produce, like, right? So those were difficulties for me.
Concepts that happen from a challenging environment going into the workplace, or being just a Black person in tech, right? Or a person of color in tech. Let's talk about imposter syndrome. The first thing is literally you thinking before anyone else said anything to you that you're not good enough, or that you're lucky to be here. And sometimes our own do that to you, where you're just saying like, oh, well, you just got this good job. You don't want to mess it up. You want to lose. You better do like he will do. You like tell you to do. That's a thing that happens that makes you feel like, well, maybe I'm not good enough and I'm faking it to make it. But you're not really. You are there for a reason. So one, understand that imposter syndrome is real, but be able to recognize when it happens and understand if it's actually valid or if it's something that you are just it's just self-sabotage. The second thing is I call it the white guy echo chamber. White guy echo chamber is pretty much when you have the same people in a room talking at each other and they're all confirming things. It's a white guy echo chamber, or an echo chamber in general, with people that do not have diverse thoughts if the meeting starts and ends in 15 minutes with no dissension. That means that there is not effective understanding of what the problem is actually happening here and the solution. Everyone's just agreeing just to agree to move forward. That is the death of technology. When you have an echo chamber situation, don't get along just to get along. And that's the first challenge going to happen, is you having the confidence to see that something ain't right here, and being able to speak and be able to escalate, go around, and be able to push for your vision to be, to be forefront, or your opinion to be heard. Those are the biggest challenges, I would say, for me, that I've had to deal with. Now I'm on the other side, but they still rear their ugly head a couple times. I'm like, oh, I just want to get this through fast too. Or I just want to make sure it's all good. Not always the case. You're going to have to push through some of those things to be able to get to the truth of you and be able to understand that you are a value add in this workplace.
Hey, Alexis, I just want to do that because that was real talk.
All right, Sophia.
Definitely. So I agree with all of that. And Khabir too. My biggest challenge was imposter syndrome and being the only Black person in the room, being the only Black woman in the room was definitely a big challenge for me. Especially as Alexis was saying, you go in these meetings and everybody's agreeing with each other and the meeting's over and you're looking like, what's going on here? So I'm not sitting here. So they used to, this one meeting in particular, they used to talk to each other. I'm the designer, and they still went to the white guy who was the head of engineering for the design. No, that's my job. So after that meeting, I decided to go and put all my facts together that I needed. I made notes, and when I went in beast mode. No one had anything to say. Everyone was speechless because they were looking like, oh, she's so quiet. No, I observed. And now you're gonna get this Black girl magic all up and through this meeting with all these white men. This is what we're serving up here today. So that's the way I defeated my imposter syndrome. Yeah.
I like to say one more thing. Bring your coach to it. Bring your sauce to it. Don't be afraid. I see Rod say on phone now. Bring your sauce to technology. It's needed. Don't be afraid to be straight up and down. Like, bring it in. Don't be afraid to offer your opinion. It's valid. Very valid.
Don't shorten your name. If it's Sharnikya, make them pronounce all 9 letters.
All of it.
And I stop
every time. Okay. But we're at time. Go ahead, Alexis.
Oh, one thing. I just want to have a caveat. When you're learning and new, it's not that you come in and you got to know everything all at once and you got to sit at that table and start talking about things you know nothing about. I'm not saying act a fool. That's all. I want to make sure it's very clear.
Very clear.
If you need your time to learn, you do need your time to understand and to grow. So there might be some meetings where you're not speaking just yet. It's okay. That's all right. I'm not saying that you have to, at every damn meeting, you got to be like, well, I got an opinion. Hold on now. It has to be fact-based, and you have to have your stuff together first. So it's okay to take your time to learn. But once you're comfortable and you're like, well, actually, I got my stuff together. I know what I'm talking about now. That's what I'm saying. Switch it over. Don't be afraid. We'll make sure to caveat that.
Thank you, Alexis.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we are at time. Can't thank you all enough for sharing. Last question. It's not really a question. It's final parting words for our scholars who are listening today. And we are going to start with Khabir, Sophia, Alexis.
I just want to vet you back off Alexis. You know, software technology is mathematics, right? So there's a lot of principles to creating software that actually is going to last and it's going to work, right? So it's as much as it is an art, it's mathematics, and there's a bunch of principles. So be a student. You can learn from everybody, right? So like Alexis said, learn, be a master of the technology and the principles that go along with it. And then from there, you can add your sauce, because, you know, software technology is universal. It's the same across the board. So, you know, that's what I would say. Don't, you know, you are the future. You're brilliant. You're valid. Like, the industry needs people of color, more specifically Black and brown people, to add their energy and their mindset to technology. So, you know, bring it, you know, remove the fear. Like, it's difficult when you don't know how to approach something. So the thing is, learn how to approach the problem. When you learn how to do that, then it'll remove all of the fear that you think it's difficult, it's hard. No, it's not hard. You just don't know how to approach it yet. That's the key word. So that's what I want to say. And yeah.
I agree with Khabir. And then if you have a chance to connect with someone who's in the position that you want to be in, I would definitely say go for it and just have a casual conversation with them and get to know the challenges that they face, any advice that they may have of how to navigate certain situations, so you can get to where they are or somewhere in that arena. Because sometimes you see someone, so I use me for example. There's a young lady that I look up to in tech. She's freaking amazing. And I was like, oh, yes, I want to be a senior product designer, but how did she get there? And how I started that conversation with her was asking her different questions, following her journey, and then connecting with her on Messenger. And she did some evaluations to my portfolio for me, which helped me get to the next step in my career. And then just connected with other designers. I would say go for everything you want. I am living proof. Do not let people tell you you are not good enough, because baby, when I tell you you are that and then some, you are. You can do anything you want to do.
Everything everyone said here. One thing I will say is don't be afraid to fail. Like, you don't have to be perfect all the damn time. And honestly, sometimes those failures are things that allow you to learn more about yourself, what you need, how you need support, how you need to act, but also what you need to learn more of. I think one thing for people of color is that we always think we got to be like on game, like ready to go, you know, and, you know, and staying ready. It's okay to not always be ready all the time. It's okay to have a plan, but still be open to whatever comes out there. It's okay to not put pressure on yourself so that you have to achieve all the milestones that you had in your plan, or that you have to be just like this person. Don't worry about that. Your journey is your journey. And honestly, a lot of us, we could probably say, like, based on our stories, you can hear we fell into a lot of stuff. Like, it was like there was. I don't know if 10 years ago we were all thinking we would be here. It's where we want to be, yes. But it wasn't that we were thinking, oh, I want to be a cybersecurity manager, a full stack developer, or product designer. We may not have been thinking that exactly then. So allow yourself to let things shift and open up, but just discover, keep learning and discovering. I'm still doing that. It's okay.
Thank you. I'll just add, remember who you are, where you come from, and as you figure out what your gifts are, also discover what you can do to use those gifts to make the world better. All right, thank you.